Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be speaking on actual half the story, half the truth. Uh, there's no other way I can explain it. This is not actually meant for somebody, meant for a group, meant for an individual person, and it meant for anybody for the fact that a lot of people actually fit into this actual, I guess, what you would call, I guess, a new venture regarding, speaking on their experiences with law enforcement or actual with the criminal organizations, I should say, and that's including me. That is including me. So I'll put it out there like that. And speaking on behalf of actual law enforcement, whether it be from any agency throughout the world, there's what you call a debrief. A debrief is nothing like a prisoner's debrief or a gang member's debrief or some kind of criminal element debrief and law enforcement debrief are totally two different types of debriefing. Law enforcement will debrief you on what you can and cannot talk about. In my case, it was in a almost like a college type of classroom, almost like a mini dome, and where the actual professor would be a big screen meaning uh, an actual what do you call it? When you projector, a large projector, and they let you know by big words. And there was only two of us, by the way, at this actual session. This actual debriefing is only two of us, but they made it known by a big projector screen the do's and don'ts, and they made you aware of the word treason. So therefore, when an individual tells a story, he's not telling the whole story. And if he does, and he, if an individual actually takes his platform into a different country and talks in detail of how they're their counter intel against organizations, and that is privileged information, you're subject to treason, and you will no longer be able to walk free in your native country. So now you've made two enemies, not only the organizations you're actually battling against, but the actual government you once worked for, the government you actually might have left in good terms with. And when you're actually trying to establish in a different country, that isn't a good because the fact that you've already demonstrated treason to your native country, what makes you think you won't commit treason in your new country? So your credibility is no good. And you really have to watch out what you speak about and how you speak about it. See, if you guys ever noticed with all of my videos, I never mention anybody's name. I don't. Maybe an organization just to put it out there, but it's all public knowledge. And I'll put it in a blanket statement. But for a name, it would be rare. And for the reason is what I believe is the most important part of my channel is that actually somebody will, somebody should, and somebody definitely needs a second chance at something. That's all. That's if you guys can get anything on my channel, is everybody deserves a second chance, and everybody deserves a second time at something. And we don't see that a lot, especially with jobs, especially with uh, certain titles at jobs. And so when you have this element of you trying to sell a story, trying to sell a book, trying to sell a movie, trying to sell a screenplay, you're only hearing half the story because the other half could be and can be subject to treason, not meant for the public, or not even incriminate yourself in that aspect. Yeah, we had to beat some people up. Well, isn't that assault? Isn't that battery? In that case, it could be actually aggravated assault. So see, therefore, they won't tell you that part of the story because that will incriminate them. And some actual charges are not do not expire. Some are open indefinite. In my case, there are some cases that I cannot speak because they are still unsolved. They're cold cases, or they're just not being investigated anymore. And that's the actual truth. Now, do law do all law enforcement ever have to conduct a debriefing? Sure they do, because they gather up all your actual equipment assigned to you, including communication equipment, gas cards, ammunition, weapons, certain credit cards, certain cards to access certain rooms. So there's always the element of a debrief through law enforcement, but just to gather all your equipment and for you to actually understand the difference between explaining something to an audience and explaining something that's not for the audience to an audience. And the information I might have might not be much, but it might be an element's last piece to a puzzle. And if I were to go into a different country and actually speak on some of the actual uh, surveillance equipment, actual tactics to counter an element, that information might be subject to privilege to the actual agency that I'm leaving. And in my team, actually, the offer from other NATO countries was always an an entrance to their actual agencies. As long as they were NATO, they were we were privileged to actually apply to their actual, whether it be border patrol or any kind of other intelligence that they are actually offering, and we would leave on good terms with the government. And I don't know, I never pursued it. I never even heard of anybody actually pursuing that. But for example, Germany, their uh, border situation was always moving around. So it was always uh, there was always something popping off, put it that way. And they looked at solutions through the southwest portion of the border. And they considered anything and everything that was available to us at the time to actually use in their country, and was able to take any agent at any time. It was always open. So, how much intel could I have taken to Germany if I were to have actually acted on that offer? Well, I'm sure I would have got a special debriefing from my agency. So, whenever you see, whenever you actually see a movie or Netflix, whenever, remember that the actual uh, whoever actually contributed, whoever actually assisted on making this movie or making this a sequence of novelas, whatever. Remember, they can only tell you half the story for the reasons I already mentioned. Okay, guys, I hope you guys like it. Subscribe. Talk to you guys later.